Yes. We have a situation, a working situation in this country. A situation where some people are just not willing to work, and especially young people. A lot of them are just not willing to work. And sometimes older people make excuses for them and even try to cater for them when they're not willing to work. I was listening to a lady speak this morning. This lady must have been probably around 60 something years old. And the lady said right now she's not willing to work for nobody again. She's not working. She said that somebody was trying to get her to go and planting on some land, but she's not going to do that. She said that she worked in a farm. She was farming for 17 years old during the banana days with her husband. And she said after that she was working security work, doing security work. She said one day she worked 72 hours. No, one time, not one time, it can't be a day. One time she worked 72 hours straight because the people forgot that she was actually working in the area that they had allocated her to work. She said she worked that security job for 19 years. 19 years plus the 17 years in the banana production. And based on what she's saying, right now she ain't feeling like work. She doesn't want to work for no one. She has children. She has grown children now. Now in a case like that, in the case of that lady, I'm not going to feel any way about it. Maybe the lady has worked hard, and maybe she worked hard and she didn't get the recognition. Probably they shortchanged her. She said she worked all these years in security. Maybe they were underpaying her. She said she worked 17 years in banana production with her husband. Maybe the guy was not really paying her properly or helping her. Because in the banana era, there were a lot of guys who were making a lot of money and they refused to give anything to people in the household. The only money they would give to the lady in the house was to buy groceries and nothing more. But these fellas would have money to give other women and to do other things. So I understand it may have been a situation where the lady was not treated properly for her whole working life. And I understand that. But I cannot get it for these young people who just behave as if they're handicapped. You understand? A lot of these young people, and a lot of times too, there is somebody that is providing them with food, making life very comfortable for them. Now let's contrast that to the young women. Look at the amount of young women you see these days. A lot of young women working security work because they have children and they consider they have to take care of their kids. And no matter what the work is, where the work is, whatever it is, they will do it. These young women work because they want to take care of their children. But sometimes the fathers, the guys who are fathers to these children, refuse to work. One time, many years ago, I asked a guy to come and do something with me. And the guy, he was under the shanty, and he looked and he showed me his hand, the palm of his hand, and he told me he will not hold a cutlass for nobody. And these are the same guys that would come and tell me, give them a Guinness, give them a Guinness. These are the same fellows who will tell you, give them this, give them that. You check it? But I have seen situations where some of those people, they leave St. Lucia and they go to America. They go to America and then in America, they become construction workers overnight. Because in America, you have to pay the rent. You can't afford to sleep in the cold. And there's nobody there to pamper you. No mother there to help you, even when you're not willing to do anything. And so they find themselves really adapting quickly But in this country, they don't want to do it. All right? The same person, there was a time, even when we were producing more bananas, there were some of them would say, they're not working in banana production in St. Lucia. But these same people would go to Martinique and work in the same banana thing. The same banana industry in Martinique, they would go and work in it. But here, they were not willing to. They're not willing to. And you see this whole thing, people are just not, it is not about laziness. It is not about laziness. I think some people are getting it wrong when they believe that young people are not willing to work because they're lazy. That is not true. These people are not lazy, for the most part. There are people, young people, who will walk through the mountains, through the hills, through snake-infested areas to go and plant weed. And in the ordinary environment on flatlands close to where they live, they are not willing to do agricultural work. But these same people, as I told you and I'll repeat, they go through the forest, they walk through the high ranges, they walk through all these mountain ranges that we have. They go through places where the place is the snake capital of the world. There's a partner who used to show me on his phone pictures of snakes that he would kill. Okay? Big snakes. Because in some of these areas there are a lot of big snakes in this place. It's not like when you're driving in past Bodley going to Vieux Fort and sometimes you pass on snakes. These are small things. You check it. They kill real big snakes in the forested areas in some of these places where these guys grow weed. But yet, and the other thing too is, how do they get the water to irrigate the weed plants? Some of them have to be carrying water from ravines uphill. Or sometimes they may try to put a piece of galvanized on a coconut tree and let the water from the rain slide down the tree and go into the drum. But in a number of cases, you have to carry it from a ravine, and the fellas do that. They do that wholeheartedly. So do not tell me that it is a situation where people are lazy. No. It is not about laziness. It is not about laziness. It is not because people are lazy, they don't want to do farming in the country. There are a number of reasons for that. I will admit that there are some lazy people, but generally it is not because of that. There are some of the reasons why I believe that thing is going on. There are some people who grew up in households where the father and the mother were into farming, or grandfather and other people. And it appears that those people work hard in this farming business and they had nothing to show for it. And so the people are not persuaded to go into farming. For a number of reasons, people did not have anything substantive to show for the hard work they did on the farms. One of the reasons is because in the banana time, when they call it green gold era, a lot of money was being made. A lot of farmers were making more money than a lot of civil servants. And some of them were very boastful. And they were squanderers of the revenues. These guys, I was going to school still in Castries, and on Fridays, there is a restaurant along that Jeremy Street area there. I would see farmers there, and the whole table covered with bears. Whole table covered with bears. And I'm passing there. Sometimes you're coming from school, you're watching these guys. You're going from school and you're hungry. You're hungry. And you're seeing these farmers, you know them, and they have a whole table covered with bears. Vin pour un boy, to their other friends. And you're passing there hungry and you're seeing them man drinking beers. The other thing they were doing, they were invariably, a lot of them had other outside women. And they know that for a fact. that expression where they were putting a piece of house on a house. In part what they say Mecho and la Kai. So they were doing that thing Mecho and la Kai for another woman. So they have this other woman there, that woman there, and they would kind of remodel the other woman's house. So a lot of money was spent in that. Also, when there was a first communion, it was almost like there was a wedding ceremony going on because of the elaborate spending that was taking place. Okay? These things were happening. I know these things for a fact. I lived through those things. I saw those things. There were people, their own children were working on the farms 24/7s, and some guys would find money to give other women, but it would be difficult for them to give their children working on the farm money. They would say, you got to find a Kaila. There were certain ladies who had to secretly buy tickets, plane tickets for the son or the sons to go overseas, because they realized that these children would have no future working on the estate there and the father not giving them nothing. These things were happening. They know that too. They know that. You understand? There was the thing with the deforestation. I remember there's a man named Vidal. He was working in Tenerife here. And I've heard fellas talk about chopping him with a cutlass because he was kind of preventing people from deforesting the area for bananas. I've heard them say that. And I was going to secondary school and I said, look at that, look at what the guy is trying to protect the forest, and look, they're talking about killing him. And what happened at the end? The forest reclaimed those same lands that they took. So when the young people see that all of those things were done, how they squandered money, and at the end of the day, for all these years, there's nothing to show for that. The young people consider now. Some of them consider now that farming thing is slavery work. They're not getting involved in that. Some of them not realizing there's a story, there's a reason behind that. Investments were not made, monies were squandered, and all of these things. And there were also other elements too, where some people believe that the guys who were running these associations, these banana associations, were misappropriating funds. People believe those things contributed to the plight of farmers too. But largely, I believe it had a lot to do with poor financial management and taking advantage of people. Their own children working on the farms, and they're not giving them money, but yet they can find money to give women. These are some of the things that happened. And when the banana industry was interrupted, I know that the government was trying to get people to diversify. There were different projects that came about. You heard it over the radio, you heard it over the television, and all of that. And some people were still not trying to get out of that 100% banana production. And for some of them, it was difficult to do the transition too. Some people, the only thing they can grow is bananas, and they cannot see how they can do any other thing. You understand? So they were slow to move into the other things. Some of them never just try to get into it or learn how to do it. And so they stayed in the bananas even when it was just going down. It was like in free fall, and they stayed in it. And so for that reason, they were just working for nothing. And so these are some of the things that happened, and the young people never really understood it. And so they believe that the people just work hard in bananas and farming, and they have nothing to show for it, so they're not interested in that. There's the other thing too about markets where the people sell. You sell to some of these companies, some of these hotels. They would get the money, they would get your produce, and they would take 3 months, some of them 3 months, 1 month, before they can pay the people. And those same people sell those things, and they have to pay workers, they have to buy inputs, other things. And they're waiting for these hotels, and they're waiting for months to get their money. These things are frustrating people too. So when all of these things added together, and more that I cannot remember, put people in a situation where the young people are just saying, you see, this thing is not, that's not for them. That's not for them. Sometimes you plant, the parents plant things and there are people who just come and harvest it. Sometimes there are the people who planted watermelons and somebody come and just steal a whole fan of watermelons. And people get frustrated. But we have to eat what we grow, and we have to grow what we eat. We have to produce fresh fruits and vegetables. You have to eat to stay alive. And if you have to eat to stay healthy. Some of these things that you're bringing from overseas, they are laden with chemicals. And we have to find a way to grow our food using less of those things. Wholesome food that will keep us healthy. This is what we need. So we need to move away from the thing where people are saying that there is no man in famine or the fathers work and they have nothing to show. Somebody have to speak the truth about what that agriculture thing is, what it was, so that people will not feel that this thing is just a waste of time. There's a guy who tells me every time, you could be whatever you are, the teacher, whatever you are, the police, whatever job you do, at 12 o'clock, you cannot eat the papers, you cannot eat the computer, you must go and eat food. So we need to really tell the truth about really what happened to the young people so that they understand what is going on. We need to have people producing food. Keep the fire burning.